Okay, so I'm here to talk about AI tools for software development. This is who I am. I'm Fel. I'm a Rubyist. I'm a staff engineer at Clio AI. I work at a company that does AI-related things, which possibly is going to be relevant for the subject matter of my talk here. That and that QR code are both my website, and that is where I am on places on the internet. I don't use AI to code, and I don't think that you should either. And I'm going to try and explain to you why I think that with some examples and some things that other people have said on this topic and my own thoughts. So the first thing is a very simple one. I'm just going to go and ask ChatGPT for a compact and readable FizzBuzz in Ruby. Quick show of hands. Does that code work? Is that a valid FizzBuzz? Compact and readable, everybody. Hands up if you think it works. Hands up if you think it doesn't work. I got a sum total of maybe 3 hands total, because nobody has any idea. It is not clear at all, but GPT has clearly said this strikes a balance between clarity and conciseness. It does work. That nested ternary is a complete mess. It barely even saves any effort over an if else. The LLM has no concept of readable that lines up with the humans. And that's kind of a problem for less experienced developers. This looks neat. It looks elegant, maybe. Maybe if you're not a particularly experienced developer, you look at this and you go, well, the problem's me. I'm the reason that this isn't readable. An experienced developer would definitely be able to know, but it's my thing that makes it me not able to know this. So maybe it's better at Rails. So I asked ChatGPT, give me a scope that gives me the latest user in Rails. So we have a scope here. It is a Stabby Lambda. It returns limit 1 on order created at desk. Does that work? Yes. Okay, so we have some more confidence on this one. It does, but possibly unintuitively. You still need to call first or last on this to actually retrieve the user instance. This is valid syntax, but it's not the right way to use Rails. I will give ChatGPT some credit. It does actually say, hey, you need to use first later on in the chat that it gave me. So something there, but it's not a good thing to be doing. But I didn't want to call .first. I wanted the latest user already. And I explained this to ChatGPT, and it says, okay, well, if you want to return the latest user without using first, you can achieve this using take within the scope itself, which will fetch a single record directly from the ordered query, which is the most recent user in this case. Does this code work? We have 1 no, 1 yes, a general lack of confidence again. This does work. This will actually return to you a single user instance from a scope. It's functional code. This is not what scopes are supposed to do in Rails. Scopes are supposed to be eternally chainable. They are supposed to be able to be put in any order, and they should always return to you in association. But ChatGPT doesn't really know that, and it certainly doesn't know to tell me that. It's going to be optimizing for giving me a good answer to my question. It's not going to be trying to tell me, the question you're asking is not a good one. You shouldn't be wanting to do that. You should write a class method, for example. That's not something it's going to tell me how to do, because I've asked it to write it as a scope. So it writes it as a scope. To use a more sort of traditional method, what if we just Google it? Create the latest user scope in Rails. We get Stack Overflow. There is a human being in the comments of this Stack Overflow who has explained everything that I just explained 9 years ago. But similar to the ChatGPT stuff, probably wouldn't recommend you to just copy and paste that code either. What I think you should do is think about it a little bit. Go and look at this, look up some more information, and try and understand what's happening. There is actually a really interesting thing that we can see, which is right down here at the bottom. This is somebody having this exact problem. This is somebody saying, well, I've called .last inside my scope, but I'm still getting an association. And in these replies, we see people saying to them, hey, that's always going to be happening, and you should write this as a class method, not as a scope. One of the big problems is that LLMs will rarely challenge the questions that you ask them. And this is something that is hard to notice, because they'll fill in a function or complete a line of code, but they won't push back and tell you that what you're doing isn't the best way to do it. And you can't build those skills in your head other than by practice. You can't learn to think, is this the right way to solve this problem, when a way to implement that is available to you at a moment's notice. There are a few different things that I think are important to think about when you're thinking about using LLMs for software development. It will slow down the development of what I consider to be key skills. Answering questions like, is this code doing what I want? Is this code using the library correctly? And by correctly, I mean in the manner the library was intended to be used, not just in a way that gets the result that I asked the LLM for. And is there a better way to do this? We don't get answers to these questions when we ask LLMs. We get, this is how you would implement that thing. And a related point, LLMs will optimize for confidence and not correctness. LLMs are tuned to give plausible, good-sounding answers, but real code is weird. You only have to look up what non-zero does on an integer to understand that maybe methods don't always return what you think they should return. Google that one if you want to understand something very confusing. And you can learn more than you ask for with serendipity. For me, something that I get a lot of benefit from when I go and read documentation is that I get information about other things than what I have asked for. I will go and ask the documentation, I'll read API doc or whatever, and I'm trying to find out how a particular method works, how to do a particular thing. And I see maybe a dozen other things that I don't really care about. Sorry, okay. You can't see what I'm moving away, but I'm moving something out of my way. But I do see things in that documentation. I see other ways of doing things. I see method calls. I see functions that give me useful information. And maybe in a few weeks' time, I'm trying to solve a problem and I think, didn't I see something in the documentation about this? And then I go looking for it. You can't get that from an LLM. It's going to answer the question that you asked it, and it's not going to say, and here's some cool stuff you might want to know for later. It just doesn't do that. And it shortcuts past valuable signals. The time that you spend implementing code is not dead time. It is, sorry, could we be a little quieter at the back? Thank you. It takes time to implement code, and that time is not dead. It is time that you spend thinking, does this feel right? Is this the right place to be doing this? Is this the right way to be solving this problem? Sometimes 2/3 of the way through a functional and working implementation of something, you'll be like, I mean, this works, but like, I don't want to do it this way. And if you just tab complete it, you don't have the time to process it and to think, is this actually what I want to be doing? Is there a better way to approach this problem? That was where the talk originally ended. A little while ago, though, I came across a really interesting blog post that I wanted to share here. If you want to read the full thing, there's a QR code on the screen there that will give you the full blog post. This is somebody who is talking about the experience of using AI to code every single day. And some of the things that I think they say here are very key to understanding this problem. They are describing being unable to be patient, unable to read a stack trace because they're so used to immediate answers available to them, unable to think through the implementation of a problem, and instead being able to only verify a problem that an LLM has completed for them. One of the things about human beings is that they are very, very easy to trick. And one of the best ways you can trick a human being into being unable to solve a problem for themselves is to show them a solution to that problem. That's what they're going to fixate on. Every single person does this. It's just the way that human beings work. If you've seen a solution to a problem, it's really hard to come up with your own ideas for how to do it. It's the reason that we don't skip ahead in puzzle books and things like that, because the moment you have an idea of what the answer is, it's kind of spoiled the way you think about it, because you need to be able to do that process for yourself. And even if you escape out of every single thing that Supermaven suggests for you, it's still there for a split second. And the faster you are at reading code, the quicker you are to process what it's suggested for you, and the more likely you are to end up doing it that way. I think that we're all capable of doing things better than that, and I'm not happy with people choosing to be unable to get their own ideas. I want all of your ideas in the world. And I'm hoping that now that you've seen this talk, you might think for yourself and choose not to use AI to code. I don't, and I don't think you should either.